One component of getting better at improvising is memorizing licks. Licks are like little statements that, if put one after the other, will create a longer statement, and that's what allows you to tell your story, just like words. So you memorize 1, 2, 3 licks, maybe 4, and then you start memorizing the 5th one, but then you've got to review the other ones, and eventually, really quick, they're gonna run out of storage in here, and you're gonna forget the licks. So if you are one of these players that tends to forget the licks you learn, we're gonna fix that in this video. Hello, my name is David. Welcome to the channel, which is all about helping you express yourself on the guitar. We all have to start with something, and that something typically, if you're into lead guitar, is going to be a pentatonic scale lick. This one, for example. Maybe, right? Something along those lines, maybe some of that variation. I'm in B minor pentatonic, by the way, using that first position between frets 7 and 8. So that's typically one of the first licks you're going to learn. That lick and all its variations is heard over and over in many musical genres. If you have a song with an electric guitar and a solo in there, 99% of the time you're going to hear that lick or one of these variations. Why is that? We're going to answer that question, and by answering that, it's going to solve our problem. How can we memorize an infinite number of licks? And let's go back to when you first learned one of these licks, probably in the early days of your guitar playing. When you learned that lick, whoever taught you that lick probably said something along the lines of, this lick is maybe B minor pentatonic lick. We're in B here. Maybe he was talking about A minor pentatonic or E minor pentatonic. Here we're in B minor pentatonic. So that's the first thing. He associated that thing with a scale. And not only that, but when you first learned that lick, you were probably told that if you're playing over a B minor blues, or you're going to be able to play that B minor pentatonic lick. And that lick falls into the first position of the pentatonic scale. That first position has its root on the low string, and that's the first note that you encounter, so it's very easy to remember. So if that's a B minor pentatonic, we've got our slice of the fretboard here. Here's that lick. And we're automatically associating that lick and all its variations with that pattern and that chord, the B minor chord, the B minor pentatonic scale. It's associated with that lick. And that's why we remember it. It's really not because it was the first lick you learned, it's because of the way you learned that lick. Across the board of guitar players, somehow when we approach licks now, when we memorize a cool lick, we forget to associate it with a scale, pattern, or a chord, and that's why we forget them. And that happens pretty quickly. I'm not sure why. I realized that in my playing too. We're going to change that. Everything we learn, every lick, every idea we learn, we're going to associate that with a chord and a scale and a position. Let's take this lick, for example. I could show you how that lick is played and you'd learn it, no problem. I'm starting with my ring finger on the first string, 7th fret. Then my middle finger, 2nd string, 6th fret. I'm going to do a half step bend so that it sounds like the 7th fret. Then I'm going to take my ring finger on the 3rd string, 7th fret, and then just under the middle finger, 7th fret, and then my index is going to reach the 4th fret of the 3rd string, and so forth. Boring. If you started learning that, you're associating the idea with numbers, frets, scales. You're never going to remember that. If you play it over and over, you will, but that is going to take a lot of brain power, and eventually you will forget that. And that idea, if you go with the numbers and the frets and the strings, is going to replace another lick. And that's, the problem that we have. We're not going to do that. Let's associate it with a scale, a chord, and a position. When I'm playing this, I'm thinking this the B minor chord. I have a backing track here. This is a B minor blues backing track, so that's great. And if I play the lick over it, it works perfectly. The lick that I just played is in this slice of the fretboard between frets 4 and 7. The first step is to associate a scale with that. I'm playing this over a B minor. So B minor is the scale. Within that slice of the fretboard between frets 4 and 7, I have a B on the 7th fret right here. And the lick that I played in relation to that root happens on the left side of that root. So it's no longer the first position that we had earlier, that first position of B minor pentatonic. It's the one just before. So whether you know that position or not, it doesn't really matter. You have an idea that's within that zone of the fretboard, and now you can recycle this. So instead of now memorizing first string, 7th fret, then I've got this half step bend. That's really difficult to do. You just look at the area of the fretboard you're in relation to the root on the left side, and that's going to automatically build that lick for you. Because now you can associate an area of the fretboard, and even if you don't play the lick exactly the way that it's intended to be played, you're still going to have the same type of feel because you're going to remember no longer strings and frets, but characteristics of that lick. In this case, for me, one of the characteristics would be this little half step bend. That's what makes that lick. So that's all you need to remember. The zone of the fretboard, I've got my root, 7th fret, on the left side, and I've got this half step bend. And from there, I can use that original lick, which is a word, and create alternate words that have the same essence. So let's jam a little bit over this. And as I do this, I'm going to think in terms of zones of the fretboard. So B, low E string, 7th fret on the left side. That's my lick. And then I can extract other ideas just by staying in that zone of the fretboard. Okay, I don't remember the exact original idea that I played, but I have the characteristics. And it sounds a lot better than if I just replicated that lick in a series of licks that I memorized. Same thing with that first idea, the first lick that you learned, you've got characteristics for that lick, right? You know the zone of the fretboard, and you've got that bend, that classic bend. From there, you can extract other ideas. It happens on its own. That's not exactly the lick that I first learned on guitar, but I can expand. This is a little over your head. All you need to do when you're memorizing a new lick is trust the process. Associated with that idea you're learning, a chord, a scale, an area of the fretboard, and things will happen on their own. I promise. Give it a try. It really does help. And this works with anything. And then you can recycle. So if I had that lick that I showed you, let's say that now I'm playing something in E minor, well, I don't remember exactly the lick, but I do remember that it was on the left side of the root. So if I'm in E, I've got a root on the 12th fret. I could take it on the open string, but then I can't go further left than that. So 12th fret on the left side, and I remember that half step bend that happened on the 2nd string. So just with those elements, let's see if I can create something that is a little similar to that original idea. Yep. Because the original idea was something along, I've got the essence of that. And that's really going to help you memorize the positions and play all over the fretboard, which we talked about earlier this week. So all those things are really going to start build up. It's like a snowball effect that piece by piece, you're going to start being very comfortable with this and no longer think in terms of positions, licks, scales. You're just going to use this as your voice, which, well, that's what it's all about. If you haven't already, check this free masterclass. It's going to help you implement everything we talked about today. And if you already took the free masterclass, watch this video. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.